Today's video is going to be a rock to fakie. Definitely one of the most basic and one of the most satisfying little tricks you can learn on a mini ramp. As usual, what is a rock to fakie? Let's do one. So a rock to fakie is when you ride up, you lift up a little, place your wheels over, go up there and back in. Now let's get into this a little bit. Proper form. A proper rock to fakie goes up, rocks, and goes back in. Now when people are first learning, they have the tendency to kind of go like whoop, 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 which is fine. That's how we all start out. But there's two things that are risky about this. One is that's how you hang up. And hanging up is clipping and winding up on your back. Now, modern skate parks these days, most of the skate parks around here, the coping doesn't stick up as much as it used to. But on old school wooden ramps, when I learned, the coping would stick up about another ½ an inch. And also, trucks were designed a little bit differently and the hangers used to stick out more. And so hanging up back then was not just gravity going down. Hanging up was also that part of your hanger clipping the coping, and it would just lock. So basically, if you didn't do a proper rock to fakie, you were gonna hang up, whether it was downwards or outwards. So as usual, I recommend starting on something small. Now this is actually a really good ramp for it, and there's a reason. It's small, but it's also kind of steep. And while you may think that's harder, here's the benefit of having a steep ramp. What you have to do is place your wheel over, and then you've got to do a little manual back down. The lower the slope of the ramp, the slower you're going to be manualing back in. And also, the steeper the ramp, the less force it takes to lift that truck over. And this works for a lot of different tricks on transition. A steeper, tighter transition, which means that it goes up quicker, is actually easier to come back in on a lot of tricks. Because the speed from the steeper ramp helps you come back in and avoid hanging up. So let's watch a few rock to fakies and really slow it down. So the secret to doing these is to be able to do that little manual back in. And there is a trick you can do to kind of help yourself work your way up to this. What it's going to be is just to ride up slowly, lift your truck up, hold the manual and ride back down. And I'll show you an example of one of those. But eventually you've just got to do it, right? And what they're going to look like is they're going to be these little weenie woo. So I do recommend starting on something smaller, even though I said it's technically easier to do it on something steeper. It's way more intimidating and the fear factor is gonna throw you off. So start on something really small, work your way up, and eventually you're gonna be throwing them down like an old schooler. So I hope you found this video useful. This is gonna be a lot like the dropping in video where you gotta work your way up in increments and just get over the fear of hanging up. So that's where a small ramp is gonna help. It's just not gonna hurt as much to fall. But over time, as you start bringing them to bigger and bigger ramps, you're gonna notice that it actually is easier on a bigger ramp because gravity is really working with you. So there's not a lot of little secret tips I can give you. Just make sure you're holding that back truck back, leaning back when going back into the ramp, and keep working on them and you're gonna get them. You'll do the little clippy ones at first, and then you'll get a nice solid rock to fakie over time. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. There's going to be lots more mini ramp basics coming up.